And this is what's so interesting because we've seen so many groups this year moving in Donald Trump's direction. So you would think his core group, his base of support would be doing the same. But in fact, it's moving a little bit away from him. So this is Trump's margin with non-college white voters. Unlike most voting blocs, this group is not moving towards him. It's actually moving slightly away. So you go back 8 years ago, he won him by 33. You go back 4 years ago, he won him by 31. Now what we look is we see that in the latest average of polls, he's only up by 27. Now that may not seem like a lot, but given that we're seeing these double-digit gains, say, among black voters or among Hispanic voters in some of the polls, the fact that we're seeing this core group of supporters actually moving away from him, not just off of the 2016 baseline, but the 2020 baseline as well, I think that's a rather interesting development.
Shrinkage, as Donald Trump might say, based on what he said the last few days. Why could even a small difference with this group matter?
Why can a small difference with this group matter? Because look at what percentage of the electorate that they make up. So we can look nationally, right? Look at this. Non-college white voters make up 40% of the electorate. That's more than college whites at 29%. All other groups, voters of color at 28%. So this is something that we've seen throughout the board, right? Which is that Donald Trump is making huge gains with groups that make up a smaller percentage of the electorate while he's losing a little bit. But these groups that he's losing a little bit of make up a much larger portion of the electorate. But more than that, we're talking about the US of A, where they make up 40%. Why don't you go to those key Great Lake battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin? They have outsized import in those Great Lake battleground states. Non-college white voters, look at this. They make up the slim majority of voters at 51%, way more than college whites at 30%, way more than all other voters at 16%. So if you're seeing movement in the Great Lake battleground states among non-college whites, that could be a very big development, John.
Are we seeing movement in the battleground states among non-college whites?
Nothing quite like a leading question, my dear friend. Yes, we are. We're seeing the same pattern in the Great Lake battleground states that we're seeing nationally. That is small movement among non-college white voters. Again, you see it back in 2016, Donald Trump won him by 25. You see a small movement in 2020, Donald Trump winning him by 22. And look at that, what we are today. Again, Trump is ahead, but his margins are smaller. And when you have a shrinking margin for Donald Trump among his core group that makes up the majority of voters, it can make up for big shifts among smaller groups of the electorate. And this is why Kamala Harris is still in the ball game right now. It's because even though she's losing big league, she's losing big league among groups that make up a small portion of the electorate, and she's making it up among groups that make up a big portion of the electorate, even if the movements are small. But it's clear here.
That is very interesting. That is a clear downward slope in these key states among his key demographic. And if I can,
yes,
for a second,
do.
Again, as you're looking here, again, this is where Donald Trump has seen gains, but it's the smallest group in these top two.
That's exactly.
Guys, this election is absolutely fascinating. I have been saying for a few weeks now, I'm not sure about certain states like Wisconsin for Kamala Harris. I feel pretty strongly that she's going to be able to hold on in Michigan and Pennsylvania. But yeah, there's this whole narrative that, oh my God, all these demographics are shifting away from Kamala Harris. They're going over to Trump. And then this spells absolute disaster for Kamala and that she can't possibly win. However, we are seeing, on the same token, the massive groups that always support Donald. And it says something if you are losing the core supporters. Give me a break, guys. It's the morning. Your core supporters have voted for you. And now they're saying, I didn't quite like that, and I'm going somewhere else. I know you can say the same thing for Kamala Harris. Maybe it says something about the greater state of our elected officials and the people that we have as options, that we do deserve better on both sides. But this race is by no means a runaway for Donald Trump, even though there's a lot of that perception going on out there, and a lot of the polling is looking like that just because of the certain key groups like Black and Hispanic voters. When Donald Trump is losing these massive proportions, not massive proportions, but these proportions of these massive parts of the electorate. I don't want to say we know for a fact that this race is going to be close, but that this is going to be a very different race. And I am very fascinated to see how these numbers actually land on election day and who really puts their vote, where their mouth is when it comes to these polling differences. So let me know what you guys think about these trends. Very, very interesting, fascinating stuff. And yeah, write me something in the comments, like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.